And we make it the basis of our remuneration.
No, I think to Manada's point, it shouldn't necessarily be isolated to us. I think this is where, to the media owners in the audience today, again, if we're thinking very strategically, and we're thinking about the design of our respective industries and the amount of work that we all go through in terms of our business processes and our margins, which are going down increasingly under pressure because clients can't afford to pay for the complexity that we're dealing with at the speed we're having to resolve it, I don't see any reason why, if we can't move to that model where the ideas and the activities that we jointly create, if they're very successful, those are the terms of compensation. So it really starts to move to a rev share model. And I don't think we can do it in isolation as the agencies or the media agencies. I think our creative agency partners have a big role to play. I think our PR partners, I think the CRM. But when I think about the digital media owners and I think about the traditional media owners, all of these have huge assets, audiences, data, creative content. But I'll tell you, if we keep talking in an isolated fashion and we don't talk in terms of the entirety of a funnel, I don't think we can get to that nirvana.
Where there's no more blood in the rock is for us to continue to find ourselves right now in a highly transactional pitch competition, where it's all about who can do it cheaper.
Yeah, right.
There really is no more blood in this. There can't be anything more squeezed. And if any of us would be so audacious as to suggest it, it probably wouldn't be deliverable. So we've got to go to some alternative scheme. Otherwise clients will end up, unfortunately, getting what they pay for.
And some will, but Jack, to your point, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I think the issue is when a client, particularly in a pitch situation, dresses up a financial pitch with all sorts of other stuff that wastes an awful lot of time and an awful lot of energy and an awful lot of money travelling around the world doing strategic presentations when it does come down to a spreadsheet. And I think, personally, and this might sound a bit, heretical to this audience, but I think there are occasions in a recession where a client is perfectly legitimate to ask for a spreadsheet competition. That being the case, let's just be clear about what it is, rather than going through all of the other the hoops. I think there are some clients who just want to have a pricing proposition right now.
Right, and I would only add on, and then what's the true cost to deliver whatever that service is?
Well, it's then our decision as to whether your company or mine want to go for that kind of contract.
No, but
there will be someone who does.
But the truth is, if we're looking at most pitches that are going on worldwide at the moment, and you say, are they procurement driven or performance driven? Most, to your point, are procurement driven. And by the way, it's not isolated to us. It's all aspects of the marketing industry. I had one client I'm dealing with at the moment who's saying they have 36 agencies and they're spending $70 million in fees. And they want to get to 10 agencies, and ideally the procurement department would like to cut those fees in half. Now, again, it's not about just the efficiency, it's about strategically how effective is the agency model. That goes to a bigger conversation than just how efficiently or profitably we can run our business and leverage technology enablement and all that good stuff. Because we're doing that anyway. I think all the media agencies have in a short time, they've been operating as independent businesses. We were talking about this earlier. Maybe a decade globally. In Europe, it started, I don't know, 20, 25 years, you think about it. I think the media agencies have become incredibly sophisticated. From a technology point of view, data analytics, creative. I mean, there's so much sophistication. And I think we always had, I certainly know when I started in the business, and that was over 25 years ago, we were subjugated in the process. The media discipline was not, and I think there was a notion that when we started to create our own businesses, we would lead the process. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think what's happening now is we've got what we demanded, which was equality. So there's no such thing as an account director or creative director who has any kind of supremacist attitude over the media function or the media specialist. And that's great. But I think now the next iteration is how do all of these disciplines work together? Because that's a layer of value that a lot of clients are asking for, better integration.
That was what I was going to say to you, is have you kind of created your own problem? Because you just identified there, as everyone, we've had specialists in all these different disciplines, and we've had to break media out here, and we've had to break digital out here, and we've broken PR out here and CRM out here, and then we've got specialists within specialists. If I'm a client looking at that situation, it's no wonder that's difficult to manage in any sense other than a spreadsheet with a basic fee for the service provided. So are we going to have to see, and I know you hate the question, and I'll try and avoid the phrase rebundling, but are we going to have to see the agencies put back together into some kind of model where you can be a genuine partner to that client as opposed to being 36 different shops all around the world?
That's fair. John, I'll give you an answer to this. I'll tell you how to say Viva Key, and I'll give you, and you guys forgive me for the small commercial message, and then I'll escape stage left.
I was going to say there's no way, given you're leaving.
You throw
early,
me a
there's no way
softball
you're
like that,
allowed
I got to answer. So yeah, I was the guy who didn't want to say rebundling anymore, and I won't. But I'm also, excuse me.
Your car's here, Jack. You're out of here.
I'm also the guy that's partnered with David Kenny now, and we're putting group digital assets together with media under Viva Key. So we are putting digital and analog together. We are finding the synergies, and we are working hard to deliver to the very thing, is to deliver a seamless solution online, offline to clients.
And you stole Cirque du Soleil's logo to do so.
I don't think Maurice would see it that way at all.
I stole that from
It looks like a
someone here.
pixelated lion to me. But thank you, and I apologize to my colleagues. It's always nice to see you guys. And I apologize to you for leaving, but I want a job when I wake up on Wednesday, too.
See you later, Jack.
Thank you.
He gets a solo round of applause
That's why I did it.
for leaving. We
He
should
always does it. He always leaves early on purpose just to get the applause.
And now I'm off. So let's talk a little bit about how you work with media owners, because there are clearly some issues there, and we hear this all the time, that you don't necessarily have enough staff to do all the things that you need to do for your clients, to examine all the options, to come up with all the insights, to really go through all the data and analyze all the data. And then you've got media owners out there who feel that they're not even getting enough time with any of your guys to explain what they've got and show them the data and work with you. There's just got to be, I'm kind of answering my own question, but there's got to be a better way to do it, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there are always better ways to do it. But look where it started. Before media agencies, so go back 10, 15 years, media owners had much larger sales forces in order to be able to contact all the clients that they wanted to work with. They had a huge advantage with the consolidation in the business in reducing that point of contact from hundreds of clients to a few agencies which were dealing on behalf of those clients. I think that in exchange of that, the way that we positioned our business is that in the partnership with the media owners, we expect them to have an active strategic role on the client business as well and tap into their resources, into their knowledge of the media. And I think that very often it works very well.
You do, Dominic?
I think very often it does, but nevertheless, life is going to get more complicated rather than less complicated, and therefore it goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, about the need to continually find more efficient ways of running our relationships, or our companies, whether that's streamlining systems or whether that's in terms of getting paid more to afford more bodies. I mean, whatever it is, we have to become more efficient.
I think I couldn't agree more heartily that this is a very important issue. I mean, testament to the fact that UM's new North American president, Jackie Kelly's here with us today. She's got tremendous experience, over 20 years experience on the media owner side. And in the conversations we had together, it starts with the person, the professional, without saying media owner or media agency, but by design. UM has a commitment to want to really kickstart the focus on the assets and the capabilities of the media owners in a more strategic way. Because here's the challenge. For a lot of the media owners, if you go back 10, 15 years, each media owner, whether it be outdoor, whether it be TV, sold its wares, its capabilities, its audience in a powerful way when the name of the game was advertising. But the name of the game isn't advertising now. It's about engagement. It's about building consumer relationships. The whole game has moved on. And now all the media owners, in the same way the agencies, we need to work in a much more strategic way. So if we need to work in a more strategic way, everything we suggest, everything we imagine has to be in context. And I think our business now comes down to three things. It comes down to people, process, and technology. We need smarter people, differently trained people for a new world. We need better business process. I mean, we've employed 2 ex-IBM consultants to work on business process re-engineering, eradicating all of the manual, inefficient, least valuable processes. And then we've got to run to technology. And who knows the benefits of technology meets marketing more than the digital owners, the digital media owners. So by design, we are looking at all of our businesses and media brands and saying, how can we more formally establish relationships with our media owner brethren? And Jackie's going to be our start to that process in such a senior position as the President of North America. And now let's see where that goes. But certainly that's the beginning of the process.
And to the heart of your question, Jonah, what that would require is for our media owner colleagues to better open up their businesses across all their different platforms. Because I know this is a recurring theme over the years, but that still doesn't happen enough.
Right.
I mean, the buy-side ability to do that is much greater than the sell-side ability to do that. And I think that's going to become more important anyway, because in this recession, smaller, more marginal national media owners who might just own 1 or 2 media in 1 or 2 countries are under so much intense pressure. That's going to get squeezed anyway. You're going to see more, therefore, agglomeration of big media firms that across all sorts of different platforms in all sorts of different countries. That will only work in their favour if they're able to bundle up those assets, break down those silos. I mean, I was going back to the Brazilian presentation this morning on Globo. I don't want to keep going on about Brazil. I'm going to get back to my hotel and find a horse's head in my bed. But
Brazil's a unique market.
No, but he described, and I understand the business model, but he described each part of Globo being very, very, very distinct from each other, separately managed, not linked up, as though it was a good thing, and I don't think it is.
No. Well, that was an unusual presentation.
Well, it was an unusual market situation, but it's retro.
No, I mean, that is an interesting one, though, because when you speak to media owners, you'll hear the story the other way. I always say this is one of those, no, you'll often hear, you know what, we came to them with a multi-platform, this was an integrated marketing solution for their client,
well, look,
but the TV guy didn't want to know about all the other parts of it, or we were talking to the digital guy, and the digital guy doesn't even know who lives in the TV department. I mean...
Right,
but
that okay, and that's,
no. I'm just saying it's
fair enough, absolutely fair enough.
There are many media owners here.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely, the majority, I'm sure. But unless we can get beyond that and start doing it on both sides, it will be. It'd be a great failure of all.
Yeah.
And that's why let's try and, if we did some more talent sharing across the different organisations. You want to build a better mousetrap, you better talk to a mouse. I mean, I don't think we can risk missing the opportunity. We've got to really move at this now. As I said, this is the opportunity to turn the problems and the difficulties of this recession to some kind of sustainable long-term advantage. And there's another area that we haven't talked about yet, which is not just the ideas, but the quality of the content in those ideas. I think the questions you're talking about in terms of business model and design are as relevant, if not more relevant, to the creative agencies, our brethren on the other side of the business, because as yet, most of us, you've done more of it, I think, on your side than, say, we have, in terms of branded content and, content creation. As a whole world, it's going to open up much more immediately if we get our relationships with the media owners working better, whether with or without them. But that's an area that I think this next decade is going to rocket.
Yeah, and the distinction between media agencies, creative agencies, other agencies is blurred anyway. I mean, we all of us have some sort of open source model, or at least open source ambition. I've yet to meet a client who cares really where the creative idea comes from, whether it's internal from the client or from the PR company or from the creative agency or the media agency or the media owner. Why bother? I mean, you've got to be agnostic about where the idea comes from.
No, but I'm talking about our ability as a sector to make a greater contribution to creating it. I mean, we haven't. The ideas, when you think about the nature of our business, most of the conversations, even to the extent of this panel, we're spending a lot of our time talking about the core origins of what media agencies did, which was trade and buy advertising space.
But I think
now
we're growing up.
That's where, no, of course, but that's where we've got to do a lot more of that.